Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our fourth induction for the Leominster High School Athletic Hall of Fame. My name is Bob Healy. I'll be your master of ceremonies this evening. We'd like to start off. Please, everybody, stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Over there. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing. I'm going to catch you quick. We would like to have a moment of silence for, we've lost 5 of our original inductees to the Hall of Fame in the past 2 years since our last induction class. Carl Baker, Pat Pothier, Mike Marshand, Eddie Johnson, and Jack Boisenau. In fact, have a moment of silence for these people. Thank you very much. You may be seated. I'm going to start the program tonight and turn the program over to begin with to our Chairman and President of the Athletic Hall of Fame, Frank Stefanidis.
I want to thank you all for coming tonight. It's been a long time getting this class put together. We're finally here now. A couple of items of interest I'd like to point out is I want to mention in a preliminary discussion with the high school to do the entire outer area here in the next year or two to redo the whole wall and build it up, refurbish it, make it look aesthetically and technologically up to date. We expect high hopes of doing this very shortly. The principal's about to bring in a consultant to look at it and give us some figures, so hopefully that'll work out. This group started in 2014 and has evolved into what it is today. You look at the wall outside today, there are a number of plaques up there of great athletes and teams. We also honor the football Hall of Fame. They have their plaques up there as well. We have a great committee. I deal with a lot of committees. This one is the best I've dealt with in my life. I'd like to introduce them to you at this point. Bob Healy, Vice President, does a great job. Rich Barnaby, a great coach in his own right, is our treasurer. Jay Gilson is our clerk, does a great job taking care of us. And on the board of directors, we've had a longtime member, Dom Ciccolini, Joe Quinn, Bobby Sabatelli, the venerable Peter Michaels, Ray Richard, and Lynn Palazzi is on, Lynn Keenan is on our committee as well, but she's down in Tucson with her mother right now. She's done a great job for us as well. Also, as I said, Palazzi, because Dave Palazzi is the next guy on the list. Dave Palazzi is the athletic director who works with us as well. We have a couple of other state officials actually here, Senator John Cronin and Senator Natalie Higgins. At this point, they have something to give to somebody. Okay, good. Okay. So we're going to start with the induction, and Bob Healy is in command. Thank you. I had it in my notes too, I forgot. We also have a scholarship program which Bob Sabatelli has spearheaded along with a great donor called James Gately, who's a Hall of Fame member as well. We give four $5,000 scholarships to one male, one female, and in a student athlete one and one in a Blue Pride one, 2 different types of awards. And every year, they're in the book, in your book, and they're in the second or third page, the 2 classes we put in since we last met. And Jim Gately's done a great job donating money for us to do it, and he continues to support us as well. And I think Bob Savas does a great job at coordinating that with him as well. Thank you, Bob.
My glasses, Coach. You take my glasses.
I took my glasses.
Okay, never mind. I got them.
You want my glasses?
I think when you fold it up. Right here. I had it right in my hand. I got it. Please.
What did you say?
Bob, they're right there on the table, left table. In the
Thank you. At least they weren't on my head. As we know, some people have had that problem in the past. Okay. I hope you all brought your booklets in. We're going to be following along with the booklet in the same order of our program tonight for the people that we are going to induct. And you will note in the booklet that there is a page in memoriam for Carl Baker and also one for Mike Marchand, who were members of our first class. And also you'll find pictures of the Legacy Scholarship winners for 2019 and 2020. Okay. What I'm going to do is just hit a couple of high points and then bring on that person who is being inducted into the Hall of Fame. Our first one, if you'll note, is Peter Charpentier. Who brought along his own fan club, which is very nice. I'm just going to hit upon, you can read all of his credentials and all of his achievements, but I'm just going to hit on a couple of, I thought, very important points. First of all, 8 varsity letters, which is not an easy thing to get. Team captain for all 3 sports, another monumental achievement. Central Mass Conference, also he's been winning his baseball and his multiple sports. But he was also an outstanding basketball player. He was an all-star in basketball on this Division I Massachusetts Baseball State Championship team. Averaged .444 over 3 varsity seasons, including 512 in 1986. An amazing record. And went on to Northeastern and achieved several accolades there and several all-star teams. And probably the thing he's probably most proud of is the last one. Phys ed teacher in Leominster dealing with the special education kids. Tremendous job after high school. So it's my privilege to introduce to you our first inductee, Peter Schappentier.
Hi, everybody. State Senator John Cronin, privileged to be here with you tonight and be joined by State Representative Natalie Higgins. And we'll also be recognizing each honoree tonight with an official citation from the Massachusetts legislature. So my privilege to give you one.
Thank you very much.
There you go.
He's just putting it down.
Pete, you're not speaking?
All right, thank you very much. I'd like to start by congratulating all the individuals and the two teams being inducted tonight. When I was a young kid, we lived right across the street from Doyle Field, and I would go over there, I'm talking like 8 years old, and I would go over there and watch the Blue Devil teams play every chance I had. And those teams and those players, they were like the big leagues to me, and I couldn't wait to be one of them. So to be standing here tonight is something I never could have ever imagined, and is an incredible honor. So I'm going to thank a few people, coaches Mike Viette and John Dubzinski. They kind of taught us what it meant to bleed blue, and they gave us a chance to, and the opportunity to beat Fitchburg on Thanksgiving morning, and it doesn't get any sweeter than that. Coach Ron Mazzaferro, who nearly every day would remind us that our priorities should be first family, second school, and then basketball. And that always stayed with me. And Coach Maz had a way of making us feel like we were part of his family. Coach Emil Johnson, Coach, your teams were far and away the most prepared teams I ever played on at any level. It was something special. And most of all, my teammates, you don't go into a Hall of Fame for a team sport unless you played with a lot of really good players. And that was certainly the case for me. It started my sophomore year. Couple of names, I'm going to mention just a few names, Sean Santucci and Tom Dolan. We were a young team, and those guys pitched us to a 17-3 record that year, which is amazing. The next year, Kerry Callahan went out, and he was 12-0 on the mound. I mean, that's insane, 12-0. And Robbie Gagne played shortstop and stopped everything on our way to a state title. And then from the time I was 13 years old through Babe Ruth and high school, I was lucky enough to play with Matt Obashan and David White and Eric Heitman. And those guys, you know, tons of wins and more good times. All right, and so that was very special. So I could go on, but thank you to my teammates. My mom and dad, who have literally been there for me and my family for everything we have ever needed. And at a young age, they taught me when you start something, you see it through. And if they remember, that goes back to Little League and Russo Construction. We stunk. And I wanted to quit so bad, and they weren't having it, and who knows what would have happened. My friends and family who come out of the woodwork, I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you so much. And finally, my wife, Michelle. Shelley, you're still the jackpot. Thank you.
Thank you, Pete. Next was a young lady that I knew in junior high, and you'll find that she was also one of the more well-rounded students involved in theater, music, and athletics. Alda Corsi. Alda was a member of the National Honor Society, graduated second in her class. Also one of the founding members of the first women's track team at LHS. The first year or two she was here, she had to run with the boys in cross country. They'd never had a girl run with them before, and she started with that. And today she is still a lifetime runner who still competes as a masters athlete in track and field. And again, you can read, I'm not going to read all this to you, but quite a career in terms of, and after high school, and also as a doctor in the military. So my privilege to introduce to you Ms. Alda Corsi, MD.
Oh, this is great. This really means a lot to me, so thank you so much. It's just a shame that Carl Baker couldn't be here. He was the coach. He was ahead of his time. It was pre-Title IX, and he started the girls' track team. We were the first. We had no uniforms. We ran on the cinder track, and we loved it. It was great. It was the best. And because of him, I'm still running. I'm still part of Masters. I have a meet next weekend at Wayland, and I'm part of Liberty Athletic Club. It's the oldest women's track club, and it'll be 75 years old in 2023. So it's because of him. It's a lifelong. It's the most inclusive sport. It's the best sport, and I just love it. And yeah, my mile record is still outside. I think I've I think I beat Bob Beeman's track record, and but the one thing that I remember is running. There was no girls cross country. I ran with the boys, and it was the best. They were so welcoming. But there was one story I wanted to say: how far we've come in women's athletics. There was no scholarships. UMass didn't have a scholarship until after I'd already graduated from college. There weren't the opportunities there are now. I kind of wish we had that at the time, but it just didn't exist. But now there's so many opportunities and scholarships. But running with the boys track team, I was warming up and we were running against St. John's Prep. And one of the brothers came out to me. I was the only girl. It was all varsity boys and junior varsity. And one of the brothers came up to me and said, "Do you mind not running today? Because if you beat the junior varsity boys, you'll discourage them from running." And I didn't run that day because I didn't want to get Carl Baker in trouble. Now I would tell them, "No, forget it." But what we've come, from there to what we are now, and it was because of people like Carl Baker, people pushing what was happening, and that we can find ourselves. And it's great that sports are so inclusive for girls, for women. The opportunities are there. And so, and thank you so much, because it was because of Carl Baker that I was able to run track. I would never have done that, probably. So, and thank you, Leominster, for giving me that opportunity.
There's a good St. John story you can use in coaches. Our next inductee, unfortunately, couldn't be with us tonight. He's, where is he?
Colorado Springs, a sergeant in the Army.
He's a sergeant in the Army out in Colorado Springs. That's Peter Gunarides. I'll never get that right. As you can see from his record, quite achievements in wrestling. Massachusetts state champion, New England state finals. In 2015 London Games, he defeated the Russian Olympian. 5th place finish in the Pan Am Games of 2011. In addition to which, he was a co-captain for the LHS football team. So he had quite a record at Leominster. And we wish him the best, and we will send him his plaque and the copy of the booklet for him. I can also send him his...
Skip the page.
Oh, I'm sorry.
C-O-N.
Yeah.
And then you're on track. You're doing great.
Thank you, Michael. Yeah, Kerry Conway. Okay, backtracking. Our next is one of our best female athletes to go through the school, Kerry Conway. Okay. Her fan club rivals Peter Schappentier's fan club on the Richter scale. Kerry, 11 varsity letters, softball, soccer, basketball. 4-year starter in softball, leading hitter in softball. Midwalk All-Star, Worcester Telegram All-Star. The list goes on. Midwalk A-Score All-Star, 2 years. Also, one of the great achievements is the 1,000-point scorer. Total of 1,169 points. That is a Leominster High School scoring record. Midwalk Soccer All-Star, Central Enterprise, graduate of Dartmouth College, team captain in softball. She played all sports. All Ivies. Academic, 2005. Juris Doctorate, University Law School. Presently working, too bad she's not around here, she might have a couple of cases. Working in San Diego District Attorney's Office. Well, watch out. My pleasure to introduce Kerry Conway.
I knew that this award and this ceremony was a big deal, but I didn't realize that all of New England would be talking about the return of number 12 this weekend. Maybe there's another guy. But all kidding aside, thank you so much for this incredible honor. I am humbled to be standing here among these other recipients. I was lucky in high school to get to play with incredible athletes and incredible people. Katie Kerouac, my superstar point guard, making me look good since 6th grade. It was fitting that my dear friend was the one to get the assist on my 1,000th point in high school. Alyssa Frieda, my softball teammate through high school, all summers, batted 600, or over 600 our junior year. I scored a lot of runs that year, batting in front of Alyssa. Erin Bailey, from soccer as kids up through high school, riding our bikes to softball practice. Kelly Gallagher, the upperclassman who took us under her wing, and so many others in softball, basketball, and soccer throughout high school that just made it an incredible experience. I also have been blessed and must thank my amazing coaches throughout high school. Coach Young for 4 years of wonderful memories on the basketball court. She's not here, but Coach Nicholson took care of us on the field and in gym class. Coach Marciano, who when the high school didn't have a 1,000-point banner like most of the other schools around, actually made one herself. It's awesome. Coach Curry, who on and off the field was a rock for all of her players, even in the fishbowl. I want to thank my family, if I can get through this. My mom, my dad, my stepmom, my brothers and sisters, always there for me, always encouraging me. My mom left for work, break of dawn, never missed a game. Sacrificed so much for us in general, and every weekend for some tournament. Mike, my brother, was my first teammate. Megan and Mick were dragged to all those tournaments down the road. My dad, who talked his way into literally every gymnasium in Leominster and Fitchburg so we could shoot around after hours during the winter. Spent so many hours hitting me ground balls at the baseball field. I would not be here without you guys. I love you so much. I want to say thank you to my friend Jessica, who flew 3,000 miles to be here with us tonight, skipping her own award ceremony. And thank you to my wife for being here for me tonight and always, and for putting up with the stories of the glory days, which have been going on for the past 3 or 4 days. Appreciate you. You hear a lot of people talk about high school and having bad experiences in high school, and for me that just was not the case, and it's because of athletics, but mostly because of the people involved in athletics, and that's so many of you here tonight, so thank you so much.
Our next inductee is a young man who, again, I had the privilege of knowing in junior high, coached him as a freshman in football, then as a sophomore at the Leominster High School football, as he's made his name, though, in the track team primarily. And Robert Shet. Now, Bobby was a He was the outdoor track record holder of the 100-yard dash and the 440 relay. High scorer, undefeated district champion in 1975 track team, which is inducted our last class. Massachusetts state champion, 100-yard dash in 76 and 77. National junior Olympian, 1977, ranked 10 in the United States, 100-yard dash. He was a high school All-American, Massachusetts champion 50-yard dash, 300-yard run in 76 and 77. He also led it in varsity football 2 years, and if any of you went to the games during that time period, you saw that streaking flash go by as he ran for several touchdowns. He was one of the better athletes that we had here in track and in football. Mr. Bob Shet.
Thanks. Let's see. So good evening, everybody. I know you're probably thinking, him? Really? Him? Well, it's been some years that all happened. And in fact, my son, Justin, I used to do a check with him when he was in high school. He was playing soccer for the Shoba, and I just would say, hey, let's go do a run. Let's go do I'll race it to the pole. And, he'd beat me. So I'd say, well, he's in good shape. I justify it. He's in good shape. And the guy works out every day now, and I ain't got time for that. But now it's my granddaughter, Liliana. She's 8 years old. And so in the backyard, I'll say, come on, Lily, let's run. And she'll beat me. And I'll hear my wife yelling out in the window. She'll say, Bob, you're going to hurt something. And it's like, oh, my God, where did this all come from? How did this happen? Anyways, first of all, special thanks to Joe Quinn for his time and effort in making this happen and bringing back all the memories and nominating me to the committee. I am truly humbled and honored to be inducted tonight. First, I want to congratulate all the other inductees for your outstanding accomplishments. It's great. I also want to extend my sincere thanks and gratitude to the Hall of Fame committee for making this happen, many of which were coaches, teachers, assistant principals, and all remain lifelong friends. I want to thank my teammates and coaches, especially Pete Morrow and the late Carl Baker and Pete Bolio. Each sacrificed a tremendous amount of their personal time and stressed hard work, determination, and teamwork. When I think about Carl Baker, I remember him driving me in that little sports car Porsche up to the state meet, just him and I. We had a lot of good conversations until we got pulled over by the state police. And, but fortunately, the guy comes up and asks us for his license, and he says, "Are you Carl Baker?" He says, "Yeah." And so he didn't do anything, so we left. He says, "Yeah, I had him in class." So that's comes in handy. But and I also want to thank whoever had the idea to change yards to meters to keep my records there for a while. I mean, this was ingenious. I really appreciate it. LHS track holds a lot of memories for me. Being part of the 1975 undefeated district champ Leominster Hall of Fame outdoor track team. I mean, we were really stacked. We had some state, potential in every event. Franny Thomas in the jumps, and Joe Quinn in the middle distance, and we had long distance. We had, Horgans, the discus thrower, and Franny Thomas in the jumps, and it's just the team was deep. So we did win that and advanced pretty well. Also, the second memory that sticks with me is winning the 1977 4x110 relay at the Massachusetts District All-Class Outdoor Championships. We set a high school record that still stands today in the lobby. But I knew in that race that day, I kind of looked around at the other lanes and I recognized them all. And I knew that if I didn't get the baton at least even, that I was in trouble. Because these guys were all, they had definitely been somebody that I would see in the state finals. Anyways, so I got the lead when I got the baton, and Billy Devarney, Jason Crete, and Jim Oggett. I don't think they're here tonight, but they did a great job for me to bring it home, and it was exciting to finish. Finally, my greatest personal record, meeting my wife in 7th grade at May Gallagher. She was there for all my track meets and football games, and we just celebrated our 41st anniversary. So Leslie, can you just take your hand? Yeah? Thanks. All right, so in closing, I want to thank my mother and father and other family and friends here tonight helping me celebrate this very special occasion. My mother-in-law, Phyllis Calagaris, John and Christine, our son, Justin, our daughter, Elena and Nate, and our beautiful, sweet, kind granddaughter, Liliana. So thanks, everyone, for being here tonight, and thanks again for all the memories, and go Blue Devils.
One of our other inductees also couldn't make it, was going to come up, and then something happened, couldn't make it tonight, was Colby Hazard Moore. Graduated in 1982, 10 varsity letters, 4 for field hockey, 2 for basketball, and 4 for track. Has a school track record of 100-meter and 800-meter hurdles. Was a field hockey Central Mass All-Star, field hockey co-MVP, 1981. Basketball Central Mass All-Conference Team, 1980. Worcester Telegram. Many, many accolades for Colby Hazard Moore, who unfortunately couldn't make it tonight, but I'm going to send her a copy of the recording of this program and the booklet so she can have it. But we welcome her into the Leominster Athletic Hall of Fame. We have plenty of booklets, so I hope everybody takes one and can look it over again some more. Our next inductee also is not with us, but I remember his family is here. He passed away a couple of years ago. Gary Helene. Gary was one of the few diving champions at Leominster High School. Graduated in '63, Leominster High School swim team, '61, '62, and '63. Won all his 1963 regular season competitions. Placed second in state diving 1962, and then won the state during 1963. One of the interesting tidbits about Gary was that back when we had the rec center in Leominster, a lot of you will remember that, and that swimming pool. Gary used to practice his diving with a trampoline in the gym. He used to practice his flips and curl, everything else that they do as part of their diving routine. And then he went on to Miami, University of Miami, on a full scholarship in diving. Tonight we are happy to have his nephew here, Jason Helene, who will accept his award from the Athletic Hall of Fame. Jason?
I'm going to be short and sweet. Thank you on behalf of my uncle and my grandparents and his brothers and sister, and mostly my dad, who really tried hard to get him in the Hall of Fame when they started doing this. And I'm sure they would all be real proud of my uncle. Wish they could all be here to see it. Thank you very much.
Before we go on to the next one, we just forgot to mention earlier, one of our other guests tonight, who's done a lot to promote the Athletic Hall of Fame, who interviews, is Todd Robbins. He's here tonight. Thank you very much for all you've done. Okay, one of these inductees you may be surprised at a little bit, knowing her later on, was Margaret Peggy Acaboni. Many of you had her as a teacher in high school. Peg was a great athlete in women's sports before women's sports was a big deal. She graduated in 1964, 7 varsity letters, basketball, field hockey, and softball. She was the coach's Outstanding Basketball Player Award, 62, 63, and 64. Averaged 27 points per game her senior year. Now, this was at a time when the rules for girls' basketball were completely different than they are now. They didn't change until, I think it was 1970 or 71, right around that time. So there was a whole different ballgame at that time. She also received the highest honor a girl athlete could receive at the high school, the White Blazer Award in 1964. And she was president of the Girls Athletic Association. Later on, played basketball at Fitchburg State College on an undefeated team, and also coached basketball at Leominster High School during the early years of her career. She was voted most athletic female in her graduating class of 64. Unfortunately, we came down with some family illness and could not come tonight at the last minute. So she won't be here tonight. We will make sure she gets her award and a plaque. But we'd like to honor her as part of this class. Margaret Acaboni. Moving along to our next inductee. Back in the 60s and probably into the 70s, Leominster High had a great swimming tradition. A lot of swimming. That's back when we had, of course, we had the rec center and we had the Y. And there were some great swim teams and individual national merits. One of those was our next inductee, Mike Jacobs. Mike graduated in 1972, was on the swim team for all 3 years. He was a state champion in the 100-yard breaststroke, state champion 200-yard medley, Central Mass All-Star team 3 times, a New England champion in the 100-yard backstroke, New England champion on the 200-yard medley. Still is the current New England record holder, 200-yard medley relay, along with his brother Greg, Brad Peavy, and Danny Albert. He was the only Leominster High School athlete to win 4 state and 4 New England championships. I can introduce you, Michael Jacobs.
Good evening. Thank you for having me and the honor of being inducted to the Leominster High School Hall of Fame. I'm going to give you just a brief history of how I got into competitive swimming. I wasn't supposed to be a swimmer. My father was a football and baseball player. As a matter of fact, he went through college on a football scholarship. So for me, it was to be the traditional football in the fall, basketball in the winter, and baseball in the spring, as well as my brother Greg. Life was good when I was 7 years old, living in Denver, Colorado, with my brother and parents. My father was a successful general contractor. My mother was a nurse who became a stay-at-home mom when we were born. For a while, life was good. We went to school, played Little League baseball, and Pop Warner football. And then things fell apart very quickly. My father had suddenly died, and life for my family had changed forever. My mother was a strong woman, and she made the necessary adjustments rather quickly. We moved to Hayes, Kansas, because that's where my father was from, and I guess she felt the need to be around his family for a while. After a year had passed, we'd moved to Leominster, my mother's hometown. My mother and brother seemed to have handled the death of my father a lot better than I did. After 2 years of my moping, my mother had it with me. She gave me two choices. Besides going to school, she said I had to play either Little League baseball or join the recreational center. I decided to join the rec center. I started swim lessons and really enjoyed it, and the rest you could say is history. I then got involved with a swim team, and 12 years later, I owned 4 state high school titles and 4 New England titles. I also had a successful Division I college experience at the University of Vermont. I'm only going to speak about one event which I enjoyed the most, the 200-yard medley relay. We won this event all 3 years I was at Leominster High School. My sophomore year, I won the individual 100-yard backstroke event as well as being a member of the winning medley relay team. My junior year, we lost our butterflyer, Dennis Lozier, and our anchor freestyler, Lenny Coakley, both seniors. A few of the other schools around New England thought that they had a chance of beating us. What they didn't realize is that we had an unknown secret weapon. There was this kid who was a fantastic swimmer, but decided he wanted to play basketball and soccer instead. Well, this kid injured his knee so bad playing basketball that it prevented him from playing those sports for a long time. This gave me a chance to try to convince him that he should go back to swimming. I pointed out to him that he would be the fastest sprint butterflyer in New England. And then if he went back to playing basketball, he would have to play for Ted Damko. And then if he went back to soccer, he'd have to play for Emil Johnson. That argument failed because he really liked those two coaches, especially Emil Johnson. After weeks of rehabilitation, he decided, with the help of his mother, that he wanted to return to swimming. As I predicted, he soon became the fastest sprint butterflyer in New England. So the stage was set. Leominster High School now had the 3 fastest swimmers in New England on the same relay team. And the 4th member, Brad Peavy, was no slouch. Brad was among the 6 fastest freestylers in the state. As a result, the following year, we won the state championship and the New England championship, and in the process, broke both state and New England records. I speak about this event because it had a special meaning for me. The kid who came back to swimming after suffering a bad knee injury was my brother, Greg Jacobs. Now I'd like to share with you the most important benefit swimming had for me. I met my wife while we were both lifeguards at the Fitchburg State Pool. As a matter of fact, Bob Savatelli was our boss. And he got me the job, so I guess because of you, I got married. As a result, we had 3 fantastic children, Rick, Mitch, Courtney, and some years later, my daughter-in-law, Leah, all successful, happy, and healthy. Then came Addison, Quinn, Asher, and last but certainly not least, Tanner, my grandchildren. Besides my family, other benefits of swimming included an injury-free athletic career, educational and job opportunities, and a healthy activity I still enjoy most every day. But one of the main reasons I still swim is that the health benefits keeps me out of the doctor's office. In conclusion, I'd like to thank a few people. First, Kevin Maynard for nominating me, and of course my family. My first coach, the late Jeff Johnson, and his brother, Leominster's own Richard Johnson, the most successful high school coach of his time, and the late Dr. Les Leggett, my college coach at the University of Vermont. Congratulations to the other inductees. Again, thank you.
Our last individual inductee is a gentleman that graduated in 1969, earned 8 letters, 3 varsity sports. Coach Emil Johnson once called Greg Bakusi, he was quoted as saying, "Best shortstop ever to come out of Leominster High School." He was a Herald RAA Record American team member, 1969 and 70, Fenway Park. Also started safety and quarterback for Leominster High School football. Honorable mention in the Worcester Telegram. As a defensive player for the Leominster High School team, Northwestern County All-Star defensive back, his senior year he had a record 5 interceptions. And was also, along with his former mentor, introduced into the Massachusetts Baseball Coaches Hall of Fame in 2010. He was inducted into the Red Sox Fantasy Camp Hall of Fame in 2019. And one of his best achievements, I'm sure he is most proud of, he was a Channel 5 Teacher of the Year Award in 1989. Greg Bakusi.
Last but not least. I guess they saved the windbag for last. No, I won't, I promise. I just said, I'm not into the new age with doing things on computers, so I hand wrote stuff. It's old school and that's all I know. I can't type, so. Anyway, I would really like to thank Pat, Ray, for inducting me, putting my name up for Hall of Fame. Bobby, thank you. I mean, all of the members of the Hall of Fame. Getting away from a little script, but it's just something I thought of while I was sitting with Peter, and Peter brought up to bleed blue, and that was instilled in all of us. I know there's quite a bit of difference in years as far as when Peter played and when I played, but it was for the same man, Coach Johnson. Okay? Can't say enough about him, but I'll continue on and get to him in a minute. I'd like to thank the Leominster High School Hall of Fame Committee for this great honor. I am humbled. This is where I wanted to be many years ago when I was a kid and used to watch Leominster baseball and football and basketball. My dad would take me to the games, and I knew that I was going to go to Leominster High School. I didn't know what I was going to turn out as far as if I was going to be any good. Didn't know any of that. All I knew is I wanted to be part of the Leominster Blue Devils, and I was. Would also like to congratulate all of the individual athletes and the LHS teams for getting in this year. I know COVID kind of interfered with it a little bit. We were supposed to do this a couple of years ago, and because of the COVID, we finally got in. Would like to thank my family, Lori, Greg, Rita, my mom, and my dad, for the pickups at practice, pickups at games, pick up at every function that we did up here. We kind of lived, my parents and I and Lori, we kind of lived up here. This is where it was for 3 years that I was here. I would like to thank you to all of my coaches. Coach Damco, Ted Damco, who is no longer with us. Wonderful man. He had a nickname for me, which was quite appropriate, the Worm. He used to call me a worm because I was one of the smaller guys on the team, but because I'd run in and out and defense things, and I was the Worm. Coach Hannigan, who is no longer with us, our football coach. Couldn't say enough about Coach Hannigan. He's another one that was bleed blue or go home. And then finally, my baseball coach, Coach Emil Johnson, and all of the assistant coaches that I had throughout those years. If it wasn't for Coach Johnson, I wouldn't be here. He used to drive me and drive me and drive me and drive me some more. And I don't mean driving the car. I mean after practice, Coach hit me some more ground balls, more ground balls, more ground balls. And he never refused me. And I was just talking to him earlier. And you know how coaches and players, they usually call them by their last name. You know, you call him Coach, whoever, Coach Johnson. And the coach would respond, hey, Bakusi, or hey, somebody, whoever they were responding to. And for the 3 years that I played for Coach, and it just came to me, he never, ever called me by my last name. Hey, Greg, and he would do it on the side, because he knew whatever I was giving him was exactly what he wanted. And I thought that was the ultimate respect for a coach giving a player. I don't know why that was, but we've developed a bond way, way back when I was in school, and I'm still lucky enough to have him today to fall back on in my coaching stuff. I'm also in the Massachusetts Baseball Coaches Hall of Fame with him. Also, was lucky enough to be inducted into the Leominster American Legion Hall of Fame because of Coach Johnson. And the Hall of Fame in Florida was my own. It wasn't with him. But he had taught me everything I had known up to that point. Probably the best fundamental coach ever. I heard Pete say again that he was on a team, and any team that he had ever seen play besides his own was always prepared. And there's no question about it. He prepared us. And that's one of his biggest assets. I can tell you that right now. Being a coach myself, I've taken so much from his coaching book. You don't know. I would be remiss if I did not give a special thank you to my teachers. Okay, I became a teacher at Fitchburg State, became one for 43 years. It was a profession that's a thankless profession. I know all of the teachers that are here. You know what I'm talking about. But you always get that one kid, or if you get that second kid or the third kid that you remember that you did something special for them, you know what I'm talking about. If you're a teacher, God bless you. Because we did mold many, many, many of the people that have come through these seats we are sitting right now. I would like to thank my teammates. I know everybody has thanked their teammates. You're absolutely right, Pete. You can't have a team sport, and do it yourself. You cannot do that. You have to have teammates that are willing to put in the same amount of time that you're putting in order to be good. And I was lucky enough to have those teammates with me. In 1968, everybody forgets, but Coach didn't remember either about 1968, his 1968 baseball team. That was the first baseball team that he was the coach of. The others, the 67 team, was Coach Bill Johnson. He was with his uncle. But in 68, his first, now get this is his first baseball team he ever coached, managed, whatever you want to call it at this point. He was undefeated. Our team, 1968, was undefeated. We didn't win any championship because we got kind of a bag job in Worcester, which we always got, which Coach would say. That was being nice. But we went 18-0 in the regular season, his first season at the helm of Leominster baseball. And that is unbelievable. Your first one to be able to go that deep. The players, I mean, I can only remember a few. Mike Marchand was one of them, who's passed away, was a good friend of mine, was a wonderful pitcher, was a great guy, a leader, but silent. Lee Robbins was another one, good friend who was just passed, who played on that team also, just passed. You know, it stinks. I wish they were here because they're the guys that got us here. They're the guys, plus my other teammates, got me here. I would again like to thank all my teammates on all three teams, not just baseball, football, and basketball. We had a bunch. We just lost another basketball player, probably one of the best basketball players Leominster High School's ever seen. He only played here for 1 year. He was a walk-on from Ayer, Massachusetts. Frank McCormick, he just passed. Young, 69 years old. Great player, just a wonderful guy, and gone too soon. I would like to dedicate this honor to my mother, who just passed 1 year ago this month. To my dad, Louis. Dad, we're in now. I was here when I inducted my father into the Football Hall of Fame. And I can just say that, Dad, I know they're looking down, both of them, at this moment with a big smile, big proud smile. But I'm on the wall with you now, Dad. We wanted that. It never would have happened if I didn't have them. I love you both. Thanks to Lori, Greg, Rita for being here tonight, part of my family. I would like to just take this to say Leominster High School and the city of Leominster is a special place. Be proud of your city and your school. Throughout my lifetime, I would always be asked, no matter where I went, where I was coaching against, or where I was playing against, where are you from? And I would proudly say, I'm from Leominster, Massachusetts. Oh, we've heard of that place. I said, you damn well should have. Because we weren't here to play lollipops with you. We would kick your ass. They would also ask if you played any sports, and I kind of chuckled. So yeah, played a couple. With a smile on my face, knowing deep in my heart that we would, again, kick their ass. The tradition from Leominster started a long, long time ago, long before me, long before anybody else, long before Coach Johnson. Way back, Lou Little, I guess he was You know, he was a big star then. You know, I don't remember these guys, but I do remember reading about them. And they paved the way for us. They paved the way for us and the coaches to start the Bleed Blue. And boy, did we do it. Be proud of your school. If you're younger and you go to this school, be proud of your school. Be proud of your teachers who you're going to see, who with. I don't care if it's a favorite teacher, it's the teacher you don't care about, but you still have to listen to them. Be cordial. Get your schoolwork done. Go with your family when you have to. And then get your butt to practice. Practice, 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 practice. You don't get good if you don't practice. I don't care what the pros say, practice, whatever they said back then. Okay? You have to practice. And you practice like you play. And it was a proven fact. I know it was when I played. And I try to get that instilled into the children and the kids that I coach right now. Keep up the strong tradition that Leominster has and be proud. In closing, thank you for this recognition. It means so much to me that I am now a part of the LHS Hall of Fame. I have come full circle and I'm finally home. Thank you.
Now we'd like to honor one of the two special teams that we have here tonight. First, we're going to honor the 1983 Baseball Division I District Championship team. This team averaged about 9.5 runs per game. Most of their scores, if you look at the book and you see the district play, they look like football scores, some of them. 7-0, 11-2, 28. They outscored opponents 28-2 for the semifinals. And that year, unfortunately, there was nothing beyond the district play because of 2.5, which came in, and they did not have the state championship play round off, which that could have been Mr. Johnson's first state title, had they had that playoff time. What we're going to do is I'm going to call Coach Johnson up, say a few words with the team, and then we're going to call the individual members who are here up to receive their individual plaque for being a member of the team. And we ask that when they come up those stairs and then come around this way, we'll give you the team and go down that way. And return to your seats so that we can get a group picture of you. And same thing holds true of the hockey. Want to get a group picture after we give out the awards, okay? Also reminding everybody that anybody that wants individual pictures taken either with family or with their plaque can get that done at the end of the ceremony, or also outside when we unveil the wall. If you want to have a picture taken with your plaque on the wall, Mr. Short will be happy to do that also, okay? So, 1980 Coach Johnson, come on up and say a couple of words about the 1983 baseball team. Give it to him? I know. Give it to him. I'm going to give you your individual one first.
Once again, what did we get? I'll coach you.
Thank you. Thanks, Bob. 1983 was a very special year. Well, as far as I was concerned, every year was the 39 years that I did coach the baseball team. We just had great players, and it's a tribute to Leominster itself. That our students care about what they did, and just didn't show up just to say they played varsity sports. They played with the intent to try to win, but play straight. I'd like at this time to call the names of these young men up. Jeffrey Roberts, Mike Bengrazi, Tim Spilios, Joe Killalay, Kevin Palucha, Douglas McIntosh, Mike Russo, Brian Velati, Robert Brassard, Todd Schuster, David Palazzi, David McHugh, Dean Brito, Jonathan Lanciani, John Normandin, Ted Lozzi, and Doc Ware. Would you come up here, please? And Coach Ware here too. These young men finished the regular season at 17-2. We then played the state tournament, or the district tournament first, winning 7-0 over Holy Name. The semifinals 10-0 over our arch rival Milford. The district finals were Leominster 11, Marlborough 2. And unfortunately, because of Proposition 2.5, there was no state tournament that year. So this is the Leominster High School baseball team of 1983.
I'm going to read out the names again. I'll give them claps.
All right. Jeff Roberts.
No, I'll get them. I get them alphabetically. So. Okay. Some of them here, some of them up. I'm going to read off all the names of the team members. There's Mike Bengrazzi, Bob Brassard, Dean Brito, Joe Killeley, Jonathan Lanciani. See it? Come on across and get your plaque. Teddy Losi. Yeah. Another fan club heard from him. There's Dave McHugh, Doug McIntosh, John Normandin, who's here. Dave Palazzi, here. Kevin Paluccia, Reggie Roberts, Mike Russo, he's here. Todd Schuster, Tim Spalios, and assistant coach Bobby Ware, and Brian Velati. That was the team in 1983. The other team that we are honoring tonight, I want to take that group picture now, or all right, we'll take, guys, come on back down here and we'll get a group picture. myself. All right. And now I'd like to, we're going to honor the 1996-97 hockey team. District. They were the state finalists at the new TD Garden. 20 wins, 3 losses, and 2 ties. And they lost to Hanover in the final state championship game. I'd like to call upon Ray Richard to make a few comments about that team, and then we'll introduce the team members.
All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome. Neither coach is here this evening, so I have been asked to say a few words on behalf of the head coach and the assistant coach. So I have spoken to the coach, head coach himself. He lives in Florida now, and he cannot be here this evening. And I am not Jean-Guy. He's not as tall as I am. Anyway, so on behalf of Jean-Guy, I spoke to him over the phone, and this is what he had to say about his team. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is the 1996-97 varsity ice hockey team that actually went to the state finals at the Boston Garden. So, ladies and gentlemen, big round of applause for them. At the Boston Garden. It was awesome. So, Jean-Guy writes, good evening, everybody. Welcome. Thank you all for being here tonight to celebrate the induction of all these former athletes at Leominster High School. He cannot be here this evening because he is dealing with issues that he had surgery after an accident at his home in Florida. So he will not be here this evening, so he asked me to speak for him. He is very humbled and honored by the recognition of the hockey team here this evening for being inducted into the Leominster High School Hall of Fame of 2020. He apologizes to the team for not being here, but it's all because of his health issues that he could not make it. He wants to thank his head coach, his assistant coach, Steve Kendall, who's not here also, who did a great deal in working on the team that made it to the Boston Garden. He wants to thank everybody, all the players, for all their hard work and dedication that went into making this team a very special team. He says, without their willingness to accept the countless hours of hard practices that made them the team that they became, this ceremonial evening would not happen if they not gave everything they had that year. There were many great moments that year, and I remember a lot of them. But there was nothing as special for the team to be able to play at the Boston Garden. It was great. He said that will forever be a special moment in his life. He was very proud to be their coach. He goes on to say a few things about some of the players on the team. He says each and every player was unique in their own way, and they all contributed to the team's success in one way or another. He names a few of the players on the team that year. For example, we have Alex Walsh here, whose record will never, ever be broken at Leominster High School. Never. Just to give you an idea of that, the depth that that team had, or the players they had on that team, Alex Walsh scored 55 goals and 100 points in 20-some odd games. You're never going to see that again, ever. Brian Salvatore, another great player, 35 goals, 90 points, and Richie Carrazza with over 60 points. That line was one of the best high school, one of the best lines in high school hockey history in Massachusetts. So congratulations for that line. They were awesome. And also, he wanted me to mention this, and I feel, I don't know how I can explain this, but I feel he wanted me to say this. I'm going to say that one of the players that he wanted to mention was, he said one of the players was Dan Richard, who never missed a practice or a game in the 4 years that he coached them. He said that has never happened. That has never happened in the 35 years plus that he coached ice hockey. So he wants to thank each player from that special team tonight that's here. We have Brian Richard, we have Danny Richard, we have Sean O'Brien, we have Alex Walsh that is here for that team, for the 1996-97 team. He wants to thank each and every player for being here this evening, and he's blessed that and Gus LaBelle also. Gus LaBelle. I can't forget Gus LaBelle. He's here also. And he wants to thank all those kids for being here this evening, and he was blessed to have a chance to coach all those kids. In closing, he also wants to thank his team for putting up with his French accent. Thank you, and may God bless.
Okay, those hockey players that are here, if you want to come up over on this side, I'll read off your names as you come up to get your plaque. In between times, I'm going to name off the other members of the team, and then when you're here, so if you can hold your applause until we go through the list of names. On the team was Matt Boschman, Adam Blood, Kevin Brandemart, Steve Brandemart, Paul Christopher, Tim Como, Mike Crotty, Craig Frechette, Timothy Hildreth, Richie Karazowicz, Gus LaBelle, who's here. You can applaud him. Jay Landry, Jason LeBlanc, Seth Lawley, Josh McKenna, Peter McKenna, Andre Oben, Sean O'Brien. Who's here? Brian Richard. Dan Richard. John Roy, Ryan Salvatore, Eric St. Pierre, Michael Turner, Ben Walker, Alex Walsh, and Claude Winship. That's our 1996-97 hockey team. Gentlemen, if you can come back down to that side here, we'll take another group picture. When we finish here, we will be going out and unveiling the wall so you can see the new plaques and some of the plaques from the previous years if you haven't seen them. And any of the members who want to have their picture taken with your plaque next to it can do so. Or if you want to have any pictures taken with your family members, George will be able to do that. How about a nice final congratulations to all of our class of 2020 Hall of Fame inductees. Now, if you'd like, we will all go out into the hallway and we will unveil the wall of plaques. All set? Okay, we're gonna go.
Yeah, I see that, yeah. Oh, I see. Two-team class are up on
Oh.